Well, morning, fellow zombies. Ready for part two? Being bored to death by the educational systems of what we've got right now as it is. Hang on. No, I got my glasses on the table over here so I can't see where shit. It's 4:55 in the morning. It's still Sunday, the October 8th, 2023. The Weaver John C. Rosebank, California. You're zombie out here. So, muttering like crazy. Am I like a doddering old fool talking about the educational system? How is it so important to have elitism really screw up our educational system? People are complaining these days, including the progressive media out there, that our democracy has allowed this kind of corruption shit to go in there. They keep forgetting history, unfortunately. You got to read Aristotle. He's deep, he's convoluted, he's complicated, and I had to read portions of him when I was taking political science in college. And basically, it's telling me, it, damn bugs. Anyway, what it was telling me is democracy is screwed up. Democracy is one of those kind of forms of government out there. We may be theoretically free at this point. Sorry, I just had a cockroach just drop by. I hate these guys. I really do. And the thing about our democracy, we have to work on it. It's the constant construct. We have to work for ourselves and work on ourselves in order to make this thing work. That's a lot of work. Okay. What am I talking about, John? All right. In order to make democracy work, you have to have a consensus of the majority. The majority will probably have to think along the same lines you have in order to uh, be the overpowering force against the minority. We're not talking exactly a mob rule, but we give the minority also a chance to talk about their viewpoints, see whether or not we actually agree with it, or else we're saying, no, get in line. We have a democratic system here that we're usually trying to do electoral college. A grand population of certain areas of the colonies to our states right now as it is. The denser the population, the more votes we're going to get for electors to vote into people that we want in office. Basically, the national chains and also the local chains. If we're talking about direct one person, one vote in our local elections, that's one thing. But when you're talking about state, when you need elected officials, you need representation for that. You need to have electors to vote these guys in. You need to vote in order to get these electors, in order to vote the guys in. And the same thing goes for our federal. If we want our president, if we want if we want senators, if we want representatives, we got to vote. We got to vote our choice. We vote in electors who do the voting for us. Why? Because that's the system. The greater the population, the more representation. The less population, the less representation you're going to have. That's how it works. I didn't set the damn thing up. The colonists did a long time ago, and they wrote it into the Constitution. We can make amendments changing the rules and regulations around because we can do that. We're allowed to do that. The Constitution was not made as sacrosanct, even though some of us actually do think it's sacrosanct for a few things. But it's a living, breathing document. Well, I haven't seen it gasp for any air yet, but still, it's called that one. We could put amendments into it to make the changes necessary to help us. And we've been doing that for a long while. It just takes us a hell of a long while for it. One of the things that we're guaranteed is freedom of religion to worship in any way we want, but without the interference of the government. Meaning the government can't state sanction a religion to be recognized officially. We want pluralism. We don't want what other systems would have, which is you believe in this theism now or else. Not going to happen. We ran away from that damn thing a long time ago. That's why in our public education systems we don't worship God, but we will see it. I mean, I had said it in my own time, and they may have changed it again, and they'll still change it again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was the pledge I did growing up. And they did that for a hell of a long while in the education system, in the public education system, by the way. And they didn't have the crosses on the wall. They didn't have the crosses anywhere. We weren't officially recognizing any religion, but we tolerated everybody's religion. If you're a Jewish, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Christian, Jewish, Vulcan, it wouldn't matter as much. But yes, the Judeo-Christian holidays, yes. And some of the Jewish holidays, yes. Because we try to be tolerant. Took them a long while, but then we're trying to get tolerant. Well, we got these Christian groups out there saying we must be Christian because we must. We have to be. We have to be. We have to be. Why? How dare you go against the word of God? I am his appointed leader here, and I say, if you value God, if you worship God, you will listen to me. Plus, I got the money. Always comes to the silver pieces, doesn't it? Listen to the silver pieces, we're just listening to God, eh? That's how it works. And democracy. That's how it's been. Democracy is the most influenced, mostly influenced. Damn it. Sorry. I know, I gotta get a haircut eventually. I need to get this damn buzz job going. It'd be nice to get the haircut sharp, just... Anyway. Democracy is the easiest form of government to be influenced because a long time ago in the ancient Greeks, it was one man, one vote. Hell with the slaves, hell with the women, hell with the children, had to be men. But they were forming democracy. Majority rule. Not a mob rule, but a majority. Even if there were about one or two people in a majority, not exactly considered a mob. But they could try influencing the other guy if they need to. They're not physically scaring the crap out of them, but just saying, I want to hear your viewpoint. Why are you opposing this? Why are you against this? What is your problem? And the problem is they will tell them. If they agree, fine. If the majority was being influenced by the votes or by logic, that's one thing. But here's the thing that made democracy the most weakest. Where's my pieces of 8? Where's my bloody pieces of silver? That's the thing people keep forgetting about democracy. I hadn't learned anything about that particular portion growing up in a public education system because they didn't teach us that. They didn't have that. I don't know why they didn't say that in the first place. But they kept touting American government was the greatest thing on earth. We did the propaganda crap on that one. It's not until I got into community college and taking government classes, even 30 plus years ago, and the last several years, that I'm finally realizing more and more about the government systems out there, that the more we want the freedom, the easier it is to corrupt it. If we want the the most uncorruptible system, we're going to have an asshole in office. And he's going to make all the dictations out your ass. How's that grab you? And he would have the guns to force it. Because he would buy money, buy up. As long as he's supplying the money to everybody else, as long as he got the funds flowing through his bank account, he can make all the power. Because he's got the manpower with the guns. Autocratic society. How'd that one grab you? Of course, you're going to ask me, what about having Jesus? And Jesus is not alive. These days, he's more of a concept instead of a construct. If he was alive, walking around, talking to people left and right, telling us that we should believe in this way and not the other way, we would have no issues, wouldn't we? But we have an issue. The teachings of one man who I respect a great deal. But it sounds like I probably don't because I'm bad-mouthing him. He's not alive. If the guy was alive and running for office, I would have to ask him a question. I would have to ask him directly a question. Why do you want this damn job in the first place? Why are you so determined to hold a public office to be the ruler of everybody? Now, I would understand if you're going to say, my father told me to do this, so I'm doing this. Okay. But the thing is, you're not here. You're not here in the physical portion of it. You're not here talking to people about the things. And if you were here, you'd be seeing everything else going hell in a handbasket around us and having a better idea on how to handle things. You were there back in the days of the Roman Empire. An established, authoritative government system that lasted for centuries. We've had empires lasting for centuries as well. You might have seen the pyramids in Egypt. You've heard about some of the stories of conquerors coming from the Far East to waylace to the Middle East and to everywhere else. You may have heard stories about Hadrian's Wall because we had the Roman Empire at one time, crumbling as they were. They wanted to extend their influence all the way up to the British Isles. Never to America because we didn't have anything like that. But then again, nobody ever came across the oceans like that in large fleets to conquer it. Only across the Mediterranean, only across the land masses of Europe and Asia. I guess that way we're fortunate in North America not being influenced like that, aren't we? But now we have to listen to Jesus. I can listen to Jesus in the churches. I can understand what he's trying to talk to us about in the Bible. How we're supposed to be treating our fellow man. I mean, there was sections there I was reading in Luke when he was talking to the masses. We had preachers making a profit and sending the profits mostly to their church and to other charitable organizations and also a few coins in their pocket. One guy I listened to because I thought he made sense. And he made sense off of this other guy concerning about positive thinking. I missed those books because they was talking about things I needed to read and understand while I was growing up as a kid. I'd like to have those books back. At least a couple of them anyway. If I can find them again. To me, they were important because they were telling me some things about the Bible. I'd go into the Bible to verify, and like, oh my God, he was right about that one. How to treat people fairly. What was wrong about that? Okay, so the lessons that we learn in the Bible, are they applicable in public education system? We're talking about morals. We're talking about actions. We're talking about guidance regarding our morals and actions, regarding our thought processes. Are they essential for public education. Private education is one thing when you're dealing with organizations out there that want to deal specifically with religious aspects. But we're dealing with a public education system that wants to go beyond a narrow scope. They want to cover a broad base if they have to. They have to have the funding for that in the first place. We have to have the curriculum. We have to have the teachers who understand this kind of stuff. Even though some of the religious backgrounds or the organizations or groups out there are saying, no, 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 God said it this way, and it's gospel. It has to be sacrosanct. Well, is it? Is it testable in the labs? No, 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 I'm not following that one. You just believe what the Bible says. I'm sorry. We got firestorms happening right now. We got hurricanes at this point over here. But God said and Jesus said, are they here right now dealing with a hell of a firestorm tearing apart a town or not? We need firefighters. We need fire specialists out there. We need to know fire science at this point. We got a hurricane coming down our ass, tearing us apart. Why? Find out the dynamics of this thing. No, 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 that's not the right way. We need scientists to go out in deep space. We want to know more about space. No! That's going into God's realm. You can't invade God's realm. We got airplanes flying around. No! That's not allowed. We got ships going across the sea. They may be allowed, I think. Sun's about to blow up. What do we do? We wait for God's paradise. We got a meteor about to hit us. How do we deal with it? We wait for God's paradise. We got a black hole ready to suck us up. We're waiting for God's paradise on Earth. As we get torn apart by a gravitational singularity. Thank you very much. We got smog levels happening here. Well, we're still waiting for God on this one here. But He's coming. Every time somebody keeps throwing out religion, I'm thinking, it's good for morals, it's good for human behavior. The problem is, we're dealing with physical aspects we still have to deal with right now. We got lunatics out there who are saying, in the name of God, and or whatever name they're going to be using Him, God for, whatever name. And we're going to smite thee in His name. Because you didn't pay attention. That's the thing I never liked about the Old Testament. God had an attitude problem. He didn't like His creation, so He's got to smack him around a bit. You talk about child abuse. I can understand man trying to smack each other around because of the control issues, or about the attitudes, or about the ego, or about anything else, including about it being autocrats. I never could quite understand why God would kick the shit out of His kids so much. I never understood it. It's like bad parent these days. You want us to be nice and treat everybody nice, or actually treat them as we would be expected to be treated as. Or, the first commandment is love God. Okay, fine, you love God. But then the second commandment is love thy neighbor as you love yourself. Okay, but what if you don't love yourself? You're going to be a shithead to everybody else? You're going to be kicking everyone else's ass. Or else you're going to be nice to people and just treat them as decent human beings for once. Despite the fact they'll have a different point of view and different religious outlook on things. Their spirituality may be a different level. Are we supposed to downplay them? Now we're supposed to be bringing them back into the public education system that this is supposed to be the right way of doing it. Maybe a long way, but our Constitution of the United States says no. And here's the thing about it. The Constitution did not give power or authority over one particular group or belief. It did not. They had enough of it back in Europe. They had it bad enough when you had the Pope saying, you have to believe in this way because Catholicism is one way. And then you got the King of England saying, no, well, I'm not following Catholicism. I'm making up my own religion here, following some principles, but modifying it. I'm calling myself a Protestant. I'm a Protestant. And therefore, there'll probably be aspects of it, but you will believe it because I tell you to, because I am the king of this country here. You're residing in my area, and therefore you will live and die under my command. Despite the fact we had a parliament that didn't give a shit in the first place. Research it, read it, find out. They wanted religious freedom. They wanted to believe in their own way. They didn't want to force it down people's throat. Unfortunately, we're having it forced down people's throat these days, aren't we? We got to have it creeping in and destroying the Constitution little by little until it's going to be a piece of paper. Because the people, and I keep blaming the people for this damn shit, the people is what give the government power and the Constitution life. If we can't obey, we can't understand the Constitution or the principles of what the damn thing was made for. It wasn't made for absolute perfect or perfection or absolute freedom. It was giving a freedom of choice and of will of what we could do, what we can't do in certain aspects. But it also gave us liberty to believe in whatever we wanted to believe without forcing it down someone's throat. So I don't get it. What is so important about having Christianity in public school education system? What is it? That we want to have morals on one particular level? What about anybody else who believes a different religious aspect or grew up under that kind of situation? What happens if they grew up as a Buddhist? Or a Hindu? Or Jewish? Or Muslim? What if they're atheist? Or agnostic? You can't force religion down people's throats if you're agnostic or an atheist. They don't believe in it. But we're going to force it down people's throat because if you happen to go to a public education system, they want to change things around. Unless, of course, you take the money away and they make the public education system worse ever, and you keep telling you it's the worst ever because we've taken the money away. But we're not going to say that, are we? We're elitism. Yes, I dare mention the word elitism. So now we have to have that pyramid being supported by the masses. Dumbass masses. And we think we're so damn smart. I got to thank my political science professor for giving me that concept there. Because we're heading more and more into that stupid-ass pyramid situation and forgetting what supports it underneath. Because the top doesn't care how it's being supported, as long as they're being supported. But what happens if that support bails on them? Crash and burn. Revolution, war, of course, you got to have that happening down below. But it won't affect elitism because we have the shields up. We got our laws. We got our government. We have this. Even democracy can be swayed and falling under that kind of situation. And yes, it is corruptible. And yes, you can bribe. You say, take away the bribe, take away the bribe. Take away the elitism. Then what you got? Communism, socialism, scary, isn't it? You have capitalism. You want laissez-faire capitalism. You want money coming in. You want to spend the money. You want to laugh like crazy. And everybody else gets screwed over because now you have slavery, huh? Is that how it works? Welcome back to the land of the Dixiecrats, where conservatism rules. We might as well have a class warfare. We might as well have a civil war. We're having a discussion, so maybe we got to ramp things up a bit. Or do we want to? Or do we need to? Scary times we're living in, or it's just normal times these days? Somebody ought to start knowing the differences these days. They ought to know it. Because apparently we're too stupid to know it any better. No, looking at the videos of the so-called Trump maggots, the rallies that they have over here, thinking one guy is going to solve everything. And he grifted, and he took advantage of everybody. and they still believed in his ass. Absolute blind faith. They're going to fall dead with this guy. He's worse than a maggot leader. He's worse than any cult leader I've ever seen. But people want to believe in him. They also want to believe in conservative Christians. No, because the other groups are going to say, screw you. We're not going to do that. This is supposed to be a pluralistic society. You're not going to force that down our throats. Well, then you can't go into our voucher programs and into our sanctums of education over here. You're just going to be stuck with what you got. Deal with it. It's rotten to the core. So you're dealing with, yeah. You know, it used to be a time where we could actually have conversations over this damn thing and fight each other left and right, but I guess not anymore these days. Now we have to be total assholes to each other. Yeah, welcome to my world living here.